Hi everyone, welcome to the Pharos Digital Dojo. This video is the theory for our black belt program, and we call our black belts unofficially, they are inspired innovators. And we are almost at the end of our journey from overwhelmed observer to empowered advocate. And I don't know if you remember this journey, but way back at the white belt level, we were starting out complete novices to ChatGPT. And by now, we should be trying to find ways, or we should be able to find ways to use ChatGPT to help us innovate in our business. And once we graduate from the black belt program, then we go into our double black belt where we start to really focus on teaching others. So, what is an inspired innovator? There's somebody who is creating with AI, not just using it. They're quite confident, quite comfortable, and they've got the practice in so that they're not afraid to make mistakes. They're willing to do what it takes to learn more. In this level, insight, mastery means moving from optimization to pure creation. So we focused a lot on how do we optimize. We've talked a lot about the Pareto principle, the Toyota 5 Whys, the E-Myth key frustration process. Here we're getting into pure creation. And I will share some of my thoughts on how to brainstorm, how to actually turn your ideas into actual things. So for the record, I'm an addicted brainstormer, and I quite frankly don't want to not be addicted. And I mean, I'm addicted. Give me a whiteboard and I can't help but fill it with new ideas. That's the greatest high for me is ideas. So I call it the ideation stage. But without creation, ideation is wasted. So we're actually going to show you how we take from the ideation stage to the creation stage. For clarity, we're going to identify market gaps that only an augmented human can fill. So we've already talked about my theory of artificial intelligence plus augmented intelligence creates a third higher power that I call augmented intelligence. So artificial plus authentic equals augmented. And I truly believe if you watch movies, I think it's the Marvel universe, they talk about meta-humans. If we're augmented with AI, we can become meta-thinkers. So I truly believe this is the next evolution of human thought and thinking, and it's the highest leveraged point. Now, a little caveat. If you're using AI lazily, just say, AI, think for me. I'm sorry, but it's going to rot your brain. Truly, that is the way it is. If we're naturally lazy and we're willing to let AI do our homework, we're not going to benefit from it. However, and this is what we do in the Digital Dojo, I believe that iron sharpens iron. So in the dojo, we hold one another accountable. We focus on improving how we actually are as human beings, how we think, how we communicate. If we use ChatGPT as that iron, it can really sharpen ourselves, our thinking to an incredible degree. So I will walk through exactly how I brainstorm, because I think that is probably the greatest skill set here. The world is full of people who are optimizing and looking for 1% improvements. What we as a human species need at this point in time is people who are going to invent the next way forward. I believe innovation is the only way that the human species will survive. And we've had a good run at it. We've done a lot with, I can't imagine back in the days, Edison inventing the light bulb in his probably dark lab. Obviously, he probably had candles and such, but we are now at this unprecedented precipice of change, and it can be either really good or really bad. We will get into that. Now, when I talk about market gaps, I am not talking about way out there or, trying to find something out there. What I'm looking at is in our market for our customers, what are some gaps we can close for them? And part of that logic is very simple. If you look at how a business can grow, two of the main ways are either they innovate and create new products and services, or they market and find new clients. My personal belief is the best clients are the ones you already have, in a perfect world, but they will buy more from you, spend more from you with less effort than new clients. So if I'm in a certain market and I serve a certain group of clients, I would rather, I have the saying, fall in love with your clients. I would rather identify other pain that I can solve because I know I've already got customers for that new solution. So innovation is my favorite way to grow. I believe it's less risky and it's faster and it can be implemented quickly. We haven't talked about Chet Holmes, the ultimate sales machine, yet in this video because I just started. But we will talk about his Dream 100 concept and how we can identify the 100 customers that would change the lives of the trajectory of our business. We don't need a big market to build a successful business. And one thing I will point out, there's a lot of hustle culture out there. I am anti-hustle culture. And what I mean by anti is I don't believe that we should try to work ourselves to death. There's no badge of honor for burnout. What we should do is find the business size and scale that fits us and build that for us. Me personally, if I could be employed as a hermit and never leave my house, I would be very, very happy. So for me, the idea of building a large organization with a bunch of people reporting to me, that gives me nightmares. I've had employees, I've built teams, not my favorite thing. I'd rather work with my AI and have relationships with my customers. So for me, I'll probably build a lifestyle business and it'll be just enough to support me. But for me, it's got to be about having an impact in helping others. I personally can't do that if I'm busy managing a team. Now, having said that, I also believe you can build large companies with a small team if you're using AI. So my comment here is not to say I don't want to build the next billion-dollar company. I just don't want to be the guy who manages the HR issues. And also, I don't like the idea if I build a company, I don't like the idea that it gets so big that I'm laying off tens of thousands and I don't even know who I'm impacting. Now, again, that might limit my growth. I'm okay with that. I'm happy spending time with my wife and my kids, happy going for walks and things like that. And I'm happy exploring and experimenting with AI. So if I'm the guy who builds the team, it's going to take forever. Now, having said that, if I need a team, I will bring in somebody to build the team for me because I don't want to do it. So my point of all of this is, as an inspired innovator, you're looking for new ways to grow a business that fits you. We're not building someone else's business, we're building yours. Now, for growth, we're going to build a tangible revenue-generating product powered by your new skills. So I have a bias, I have a belief. I believe that every business can benefit from an information product. Now, I don't care what your business is. I don't care what you sell or who you sell it to. Somebody has questions about your business. I will use John Stanton from The Running Room as one of my favorite examples. He built and created running clinics because he realized that not everybody knew how to, quote unquote, run. So he actually created a program. He wrote a book called Running from Start to Finish. And in that, he talks about how to go from couch potato to 5K, how to go from 5K to 10K, 10K to half marathon to full marathon. And then there's okay, you've ran the marathon. Now here's how you qualify for the Boston Marathon. So kind of like what I'm doing, gamifying it and elevating people one step at a time. But he had a pretty generic product. He sold running shoes and actually started out of his basement or garage in Edmonton. And he built a North American phenomenon. I think now, last time I checked, there's over 200 stores. The running room has been able to scale because he's built this thriving community of runners. People, his employees, they work there because they like running. His customers come back because they like the camaraderie. And I don't know if you know this, but if you travel, you can drop in at a running room location and ask when they have their group runs and things like that. But basically, they turned the lack of knowledge about running into a revenue stream. Obviously, the book sales, they charge for the programs they have, but it also educated people on how to use first of all, it was the first lesson is how to pick the right running shoe. And then from there, it's how to use all of the other gear to improve your running, right down to using the gels and the heart rate monitors and so on. So we want to be sticky by educating people. And I truly believe every business out there, or at the very least, every business I want to work with, has the capacity to bring in a revenue generating product. So in the digital dojo, you are going to practice. You are going to go from ideation all the way through to creation and then start generating revenue from it. And this is a high standard because this is what I believe is the next evolution from we've taught our team how to use it, we've enhanced our business. Now, how can we grow our business without necessarily growing the team or adding complexity? And I warn you, this gets addictive. By the end of this, you will be saying, I can see the next product idea now. I want to build it and ship it fast. At this level, by the way, one of my favorite books that will guide us, obviously Chet Holmes' The Ultimate Sales Machine, and Noah Kagan's book, The $1 Million Weekend. And what I love about The $1 Million Weekend, it's not as hypey as it sounds. What he's suggesting, and I love the experiment side of it, every weekend, it's predicated that you have a job and you want to build a side hustle. I'm going to predicate it on you have a business and you want to generate a side revenue to support the business. Every weekend, you come up with an idea, you do a little bit of research with your network, you try to validate it. And in his world, validate means somebody opened their wallet and gave you money for it. And if it validates, you build it and you ship it. And the idea is that if you're going to have some winners, you're going to have some losers, but if you put the effort in, and he only wants to solve at least $1 million problem, if you put in the effort and you get a winner, you should generate $1 million revenue from that creation. You're not always going to, but that is the goal. And the beautiful thing is you spend the weekend on it. If it doesn't generate what you hoped, you set it aside, and next weekend you try again. Now, having said that, I believe products are wonderful because once you've created it, especially a digital product, you've got it there forever, and you can find ways to use it to grow your business, add value to your existing customers. And we talked about market gaps earlier. Think about who you already serve and what else could you do for them. So the black belt is the most significant leap in the curriculum. We are going from basic skills to advanced thinking. And here the student is a strategic optimizer. from the red belt, who is standardized AI use for others. And in the black belt, we're moving from optimization to that creation. So we will be in the black belt practicing, and we will at least build and ship one new revenue generating product powered by your new AI skills. And quick recap of our core objectives. Mastery means moving from optimization to creation. And this is where I have the most joy, is seeing creation. I love creating something that wasn't there before. By the way, random, a lot of people say that AI is going to end innovation. Humans won't be needed anymore. I beg to differ. And if you don't believe me, I will just say this. ChatGPT is calculating the next logical word based on the conversation. So by definition, a large language model is calculating and repurposing, not creating. Now, having said that, you can use it to create and it'll move you forward at exponential speed. So we still need humans for creativity. Again, if I could say this well, ChatGPT and tools like it are excellent on their own for optimization. They were built for this. They can find gaps, they can find patterns, etc. Pure creation, in my humble opinion, still requires the spark from the human to say, you know what if we did this? Or what about that? All right, clarity. We're going to identify market gaps that only an augmented human can fill. I think we've covered that well. And then growth, we will build a tangible revenue generating product powered by your new skills. Now, for the record, this is the theory portion of the course. We do have a practical application where it will be a workshop, and all of our black belt people are invited to join. And we walk through all the way from ideation to validation to creation. That is a fun little process, and I hope you'll stick around for that journey. So the first thing we do in the black belt, and any other belt for that matter, is we talk about the mindset badge. And here we're building the belief and awareness that you need to move forward. So the core focus for the mindset is that mastery means moving from optimization to pure creation. So here as insight, we're going to adopt the founder mindset and realize that your years of accumulated expertise, now augmented by ChatGPT, make you uniquely qualified to solve a market problem by packaging your system into a product. So what that means, and I should be clear, every one of you, if you're in the dojo, I believe you have something unique, some problem, some challenge, some viewpoint that is unique to you. And I guarantee, with a little help from the dojo and a little help from your custom GPTs, you are going to identify your one thing you can contribute to the world that no one else has thought to solve. And spoiler alert, I usually look at the weird little patches and workarounds I've built for myself. It turns out other people value that as well. So basically, we're going to identify your unique skill set, and we're going to solve a problem for your existing clients by creating a system and packaging it into a product. Here we're going to talk about, for clarity, the market gap hypothesis. So again, if you're new to the scientific experiment, I promise we've covered it a few times. You probably missed it. Go back. No, I'm kidding. I'll talk about it here. What we do with everything is we will identify a specific painful problem in your industry that is currently solved somehow manually or poorly, and we'll formulate a clear hypothesis on how ChatGPT could build a solution that would disrupt it. So I will give an example. Let's say we are an accounting firm and we've got clients. Honestly, and I say this about most professional service firms, the number one challenge or the number one source of challenges with clients is a bad or poor or absent onboarding system. And honestly, I think this is something a lot of professionals need to recognize. You're comfortable and confident in your professional services. You know what you need from the client, and it might feel mundane and repetitious to you. However, when it comes to dealing with professionals, from the client perspective, what we need to recognize is their nervous systems are nearly always triggered and they're literally stuck in fight, flight, or freeze. So they're one confusion point away from panic. And if they're panicked, they will lash out at the person who's poking them, which is the accountant. So find ways to gently onboard them, respecting, because here's the thing: if somebody's nervous system is triggered, you see a rational human being in front of you because you see that they look like a human being. However, they're stuck in their primitive lizard brain and they're just as likely to lash out as to retreat. So what we want to do is minimize the nervous system triggers, and we want to onboard them gently. Now, here's the magic. If you onboard well, it avoids almost all problems going forward. So, for example, number one challenge I had as an accountant was getting people to bring me information. Well, the problem was, I would say, I knew what I meant by this, never stopped to think and ask if they knew. I would say, bring in your accounting records and we'll get started. Uh-huh. And then I have to call them. Hey, you dropped off your bank statements, but you didn't bring in your receipts. Oh, receipts. Okay, I'll bring those in. And they bring me a garbage. I'm not kidding. One brought a garbage bag in. What I realized as an accountant who focused on year-end tax preparation, I was getting the data I asked for as far as they understood they were giving it to me. And then what I realized was I'm going to bring in good bookkeepers, help them help my clients. And then I would just have to say to the bookkeeper, hey, it's year-end time. Can I get the year-end file? Yes, please. So find ways to solve the problems that you struggle with and take it for granted. So this is fun. We're going to brainstorm bottlenecks. We're going to look at frustrations, friction points, and then we're going to identify products we can use to solve them. And in the growth phase, you are going to create and focus on creating a minimum viable product. We also call it an MVP. And so the commitment is you will build a small, defined, and shippable output for your product idea. And by the way, that might be a custom GPT, a simple course with using ChatGPT, or it might be a single feature web app. Usually, and honestly, in the black belt level, we're happy if you create, okay, I'm going to give it away. The number one tool I advise all of my clients to create is a 10-question, frequently asked question document, and you give it out to your existing clients. Now, the beautiful thing about that is they can read it. It should be written from their perspective using their language, none of your technical babble, none of your jargon. It should read like a nice little story that they would read in the newspaper. Spoiler alert, you should write it at a grade 3 to 5 reading comprehension level. But basically a short 10-question frequently asked document becomes a tool that your clients will use and they'll go, oh my God, thank you. That way they can ask you their questions when they're not triggered and get the answers when they're not triggered, so they'll actually be able to receive it. Now that can be in the form of videos on YouTube. It can be the form of posts on LinkedIn. But ultimately, it should also be a PDF, maybe with links to your videos and so on. But basically, if you create a good informational product that answers the most common questions that they have, that's a document they'll share with their friends, colleagues, peers, etc. So we're working to make ourselves even more referable. I get a lot of help and advice from people who want to tell me how to grow my business better through more marketing and more this and more that. The problem with marketing is the better I get at marketing, then I have to get better at sales. And when I say better, I mean as an organization, I have to build a marketing team, then I have to build the sales team. And the better I get sales, then I better get better at marketing because I need to feed the sales team. However, I believe in turning my clients into advocates, and I believe in 100% referral-based business. I don't need to worry about marketing or sales. As an example, you will see with the Pharos Digital Dojo, our content is available widely for free. If you want to practice and hang out with us in the dojo, there is a membership fee. So the informational products I'm creating will supplant the need for marketing and sales. And honestly, if somebody's watched enough of my videos and they're not ready to join the dojo, I bow to them. I wish them all the respect and love in the world, and I wave goodbye. I'm not here to convince somebody. Either you want to be better at ChatGPT, you want to master it, or you don't. If you're watching this video, I hope you already understand the power of ChatGPT. The skill set badge, this is where we get into the tools and techniques. So our core focus here is building that one tangible revenue generating product powered by our newly acquired ChatGPT mastery skills. So the insight here, the ultimate skill you're going to develop in the black belt, and you're going to practice until you are confident, not when I say you are, but when you say you are. We're going to synthesize all of our prior belt knowledge, including prompt engineering, workflow design, GPT building, and we're going to build a singular commercial asset. And then for clarity, we're going to work on a revenue prompt. And here we create the core proprietary prompt or chain of prompts that forms the secret intellectual property behind your new product, ensuring it cannot be easily reverse engineered. And to be clear, I'd rather our competitors didn't steal what we do. However, I find it fascinating, and I will share this. Anybody who's ever copied me, they've always taken my words, but never my intention. And it is funny because I build tools to help people network better because I believe in better connections. Most people who've taken my materials, I've even seen people take full copies of books I've written and try to make it their own. If you're someone who's willing to steal other people's ideas and put them forth as your own, you're not focused on relationship building, you're focused on driving transactions. Anytime someone who is transactional copies my relational material, it always sounds horribly hollow, and it's kind of a cheap replicate. You can see it's a knockoff that was designed and built in a factory somewhere overseas, not literally, but figuratively. And for growth, we're going to work on that MVP development and launch, where we successfully build the MVP, whether it's almost always going to be the course, but maybe it's a custom GPT, and we'll create just a basic landing page and launch the product to market, even or especially if only to a small test group. The test group is critical. Now, before we get into the gear set badge and we talk about systems and flow, we're going to cover some proprietary frameworks. And I have a brainstorming model, which I will share here in the gear set. And basically, we go from ideation to validation to creation. And it should be that quick. So I will share my whiteboard process, and then you guys can practice it on your own, and we'll definitely work on it as a group. Now, I have a Catalyst crew member who is a brainstorming guide that you have access to as a member, a paid member of the Pharos Digital Dojo. For those who are watching the free content, if you want to learn more, reach out. Basically, what I do, I'm a old school addicted brainstormer. Your tools will vary, and use the tools that work for you. I have sometimes used Post-it notes and markers, but for big ideas, I need a whiteboard. Whiteboards are where I do my best work. However, if you don't have a whiteboard, markers and a Post-its will do fine. So what I do is I get really clear on what problem I want to solve. So I need to be clear, what am I trying to solve? In this case, let's use the example of I need to identify the 10 questions that my clients need answered to move forward. Now, if you have an organization and you have a team, use their knowledge, brainstorm with them. And what I do is I call it the popcorn method. You just popping out ideas. You're not developing them. You're not sharing the story behind them. It should just be a couple of words, at most a sentence, but it's something you're just popping it up. The idea in the ideation stage is there's no bad ideas. So here we're throwing out as many as we can. And what I do then, once the whiteboard is full, or like I said, if you've got Post-it notes, put them up on a wall that everybody can see. Penmanship is important. So if you're not good at penmanship, sometimes what I'll do is I'll give the team each a marker and a Post-it, and everybody's got 5 minutes to brainstorm. But I like the energy of brainstorming out loud. So once the whiteboard is full, or as full as it needs to be, and we're comfortable, we've got some new ideas up there, I take a picture of the whiteboard, I upload it to ChatGPT, and I ask ChatGPT, first of all, I give it the context and say, here's the problem we're trying to solve. Here's the brainstorming we did. Please convert the whiteboard into text. And if you've got decent handwriting, and I use cursive, I don't use cursive, I print. And I think most people do that on whiteboards because cursive is a little hard. If your handwriting is at all legible, ChatGPT is pretty good at converting. Now, quick little quality control. You want to make sure all of the ideas on the whiteboard made it into ChatGPT. Then you want to ask ChatGPT to help you narrow it down, to look for patterns, overlap, and this is where ChatGPT excels. It can give you, what are my top 3 priorities? What are our top 3 ideas? What do we work on? So once ChatGPT summarizes it, we come back to the team and say, okay, here are the general themes. Out of these, let's pretend you come up with 10 themes. Let's pick the top 3, and we're going to create a digital product for the first of our top 3. Now, ChatGPT can help you then fill in the gaps. But once we've got our focus, our top 3, then we do another brainstorming round with the team, and we ask ourselves, how could we guarantee success with this for our clients? And we're taking the ideas from general to how do we help our clients succeed? And this, you're going to brainstorm as much as you can. Same process, take a picture, upload it to ChatGPT, and ask it to compare the brainstorming ideas to the brainstorming execution. And then you're going to use ChatGPT to create an informational product to help people fill those gaps. Now, I can't teach that all at once because it's a hefty system, but I think that gives you a good idea, good framework. And then from there, you're going to build the materials you need to share it. And we have a validation process where our custom GPT gives us what we need to email or post on social media. But really, truly, we're going to identify our top 10 customers, and we're going to try and solve a problem we know they have. So then we reach out to them and say, hey, I built this. Would you mind giving me feedback? And key thing, you can sell it if you want. I'm prioritizing their feedback. Give it away to one or two, get their feedback, and then you can decide if it's worth building out for the rest. So that is our simple system. And we use custom GPTs to create things like questionnaires, surveys, educational products, workshops, master classes, workbooks, books, etc. Once you get the ideas, the assets are easy to build relatively. More accurately, with the help of custom GPTs, the assets are easy to build. Sorry, well-built custom GPTs, the assets are easy to build. So we will create a branded framework integration, and we will formally name whatever your proprietary solution is. So for example, you might call it Jeff's Clarity Method. I've built the Pharos Digital Dojo, which is all about teaching people how to master ChatGPT. This is not one of those fluffy, here's some nice to haves. This is a proven system for how I've applied it in my business. And so you're going to integrate it into the branding and instructions of your minimum viable product. And then for growth, we build that payment gateway, and we're going to successfully implement a working payment gateway and conduct successful paid transactions for your new generated product. As always, we have our community badge, and here is where we're going to do some collaboration. If you're part of a small team or you're a solopreneur, one of the number one challenges is the feeling of I'm alone or I have to solve this. So we created the community badge so that our members could focus on growing together and share and get feedback. So the core focus for community is soliciting that public feedback and establishing your thought leadership. The value here, and this is where it gets fun and powerful, is if you share things with a group and they go, oh my God, I didn't know that. Spoiler alert, that's a potential product you could create. So just as a high level, what I think of for educational products are simple quizzes helping people diagnose whether they have the problem you solve or not. You might get into a simple webinar where you're teaching people the myths, mistakes, or best practices to solve a problem. We can create PDFs, ebooks, and so on around frequently asked questions, frequent mistakes, etc. And then we can get into master classes where we're teaching people the theory of things. I could argue that the Pharos Digital Dojo theory courses are a master class in mastering ChatGPT. Workshops are where we actually take the theory and we apply it. And then beyond that, we have group programs, masterminds, etc. So the insight here I want everybody to understand is that commercialization of our new product is a team sport. So our black belts will leverage the community for beta testing, pricing feedback, and initial distribution. So we have a program, we encourage our black belts to share their wisdom and insights with the rest of the digital dojo. You can teach our white belts all the way up to our double black belts how to do something. I believe that we are stronger as a group, so therefore I encourage our group to share and become stronger together. Now, to be clear, this is not a pitch fest. You're not going to be pitching to everybody, but there will be opportunities for our black belts to share their insights with people in our dojo that need their insights. And for clarity, we'll teach you how to build a beta feedback loop And here you're going to recruit and onboard at least 5 community peers or external users to beta test your minimum viable product, providing them with a specific feedback form focused on market fit and perceived value. And as part of our growth, you will do a public announcement. What public means is unique to you. We don't require it to be a certain way. You're not going to have to get a billboard out on the highway or post on social media if you're not already there. But one way or another, you're going to announce publicly your new informational product. Now, again, I don't care how you do it. You can send a one-to-one email to your top 10 clients. You can send an email to your list. You can create a newsletter. You can post on LinkedIn. You can do a blog post, or you can do a post in our community. And the goal is to receive at least 10 unique positive engagements. And this is about the vanity. We're going to get likes. We're going to get comments. We're going to get shares. This is where we are listening and learning. The questions we hear, the comments we get, these can all inform and guide the development of our product. Now, however, the positive engagement is really truly about validation. And so one of the things we do is if somebody engages with us on LinkedIn, ask them to describe how this problem impacts them. If somebody's really excited about it, ask them what a solution to this problem would be worth to them. But the number one metric here is that we get somebody to pay for it. In Noah Kagan's $1 Million Weekend, he says even getting your first dollar is the path forward, because if somebody's willing to pay you $1, that is actual validation. And what I see that meaning is that if somebody likes, comments, or shares, that's a pretty low commitment, and it's not even that likely to be accurate. I know people who like and comment and share just to get more traction on social media. So for you, you want people to actually give you money to validate that this is in fact a valid business or a valid informational product people will pay for to help grow your business. And the final badge is the attitude badge. We've talked about this. We're going to build respect and consistency. And I would say part of this attitude badge is, in addition to respecting ourselves and our community, we're going to respect our process and follow it consistently. So here the core focus is scaling the outputs that you get from GPTs, your custom or ChatGPT, while maintaining your voice and your quality. And again, everything we've built has that. We take the inputs, we follow the process steps, we have a quality control and a feedback loop, and then we generate an output. And by the way, the beautiful thing about AI is if we generate an output and then we decide we want to change it, we can change rapidly. So we can really optimize at a high level and get very, very detailed into what our audience needs. And by the way, one of the things I do is if I get feedback from people, I will add it to one of my custom GPTs, and I'll ask the GPT to compare the feedback to the output and identify whether or not we should be changing anything. So the insight here for our attitude badge is that ethical innovation is responsible power. I want you to realize that launching a product increases your responsibility to the public. Humility and transparency are non-negotiable. So I will get up on my little soapbox for a moment. One of the problems that humanity as a species is facing right now is what I see as a massive trust deficit. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of garbage. People call it AI slop. There's a lot of crappy content, and The thing is, we've talked about the Dunning-Kruger effect, where somebody who's a novice at something overestimates their abilities because they don't know what they don't know. An expert underestimates their abilities because they know what they don't know. The problem with ChatGPT and large language models in general is that the amateurs of the world are really confident right now that they know everything. And that makes me shudder a little because they're loud and they're everywhere. And unfortunately, what that does, AI content is outpacing human content. If we look at the last 3 years, I would guarantee AI has at least created 1,000 times as much, probably 1,000,000 times as much more content than actual human experts. And so the problem is we're going to have a lot of really confident AI hallucinations being pitched as the way forward. And I pick on young people, older people can do this too. But if you're not an expert in a field and you use AI to appear to be an expert in that field is dumber for your AI input into the community. Because you don't know what you don't know how to validate. So you're going to create a bunch of content that's garbage. Now, that's the drain on society. In this trust deficit, this is where I believe true experts can emerge and correct the mistakes, the myths, the lies, the misinformation. Again, I don't expect that you're going to become a crusader and change your entire industry, but I do believe you can help your clients see through the noise and understand why you are the expert they can trust. And I do that a lot. I share myths that I see out there and I bust them. I share lies and mistakes out there and I show you how to identify the truth and to solve or avoid the mistakes. And I love sharing best practices because it helps people understand where they need to go. So under clarity, you're going to develop your own version of an ethics statement, and you're going to draft a clear, simple ethics and disclaimer statement for your new product, covering the limits of the AI contribution to it. But you are also going to state that you have human verified this content and you have legitimate access and use of the data. So this is another thing I see. People will take copies of books. They'll feed the PDF of the book. They find it online somewhere. And then they start selling that person's expertise as their own. I personally don't like that. Everything I'm sharing here, I've learned and I've tested and I've validated. If I do something based on an expert, I say it and I give them credit for what I've contributed, what they've contributed, how they've changed how I think. And then the last piece for growth is we want sustained momentum. So we're looking at spending a month. You can do what makes sense to you. I love the weekly cadence of the $1 Million Weekend, but you're going to successfully market and sell your custom GPT or your AI powered content, your informational product for 30 consecutive days. Could be 30 business days, could be 30 consecutive days. If you don't work weekends, that's okay. The key is if your business is open, you're somehow promoting your informational product. And you're going to get feedback, you're going to log it, you're going to track it. And from here, you're going to make any necessary adjustments and you're going to just demonstrate that sustained entrepreneurial momentum. So the idea is really simple. If you create the easiest thing you can create, I promise, is a 10 question and answer booklet. So most people know how to use word processors. Most people can print to PDF. If you want to make it pretty, you can use something like Canva to add some images. But I even do it. You'll see me. Actually, you will see me because I do this a lot. I create slide decks, one slide per question. I record the video, asking the question and answering the question. And then what I do personally is I transcribe said video, and I use the transcript to create a workbook or an ebook or whatever it is. Depends on the length of the video, the length of the answers. But you can easily create a digital product. And the key is it should be in your voice. It should be you answering the questions, not AI, just for the record. And basically, it should be you talking the way you talk to your clients. And that is our minimum viable product, is a 10 answers to the 10 most common questions your existing clients have. And the beautiful thing is you can expand on that. You can ultimately use that to create courses, books, etc. But if you're answering the questions already going on in their heads, people will come to you because they will assume you're the one to help them because you have the answers to their questions. And believe it or not, I see way too many companies, especially professionals, they want to hoard the knowledge, they want to look clever, and they want to charge a fortune for it. Answer the questions your clients have, and they will become your best salespeople. So congratulations, if you've made it this far, you are at the final step of the journey. Once you earn your attitude badge, then we get into the double black belt program where you start learning how to teach others how to master their AI programs. And if you haven't already done so, visit pharosbusiness.com/digital-dojo. We'd love to have you come into the dojo and practice your skills with us.